For more on this, Ian Darke joins us. Ian, what's been made in England of Erling Haaland being asked to be taken off?
Well, it is a surprise, isn't it? I mean, he didn't feature that much in the game. He does look a bit fatigued, but you'd think Manchester City are used to this kind of thing at the end of a season, but it seems to be, from what Pep is saying, affecting him a little more, maybe, than the others. I mean, I think this is an interesting semi-final because Chelsea this season have drawn 4-4 in that thriller at Stamford Bridge and 1-1 at the Etihad. And they've run into a bit of form as well. And, you know, with the whole Cole Palmer scenario here, with him going back in prime form and now joint top scorer of the Premier League, and the City fans wishing maybe he hadn't gone, it's beautifully set up for a game. But, you know, how well have City recovered mentally from what happened against Real Madrid in the penalty shootout?
Ian, your internet is flawless today. I'm sure there'll be no problems as we continue.
Well, keeping the conversation of the fatigued.
Yes, obviously this internet is fatigued. Is that where you're going?
Certainly not fresh.
No, it's not. Speaking of not fresh, how are you? That's some niggles.
I've already done an hour today already.
Yeah, we've already done one show.
On edge.
There's a surprise. You're born on edge, Burley.
I'm not on edge. Apart from the fact we were late starting. But that's just a small thing. I'm not mentioning it. What was I going to say? Yeah, he didn't have to offer up the ask to come off.
Right.
He didn't have to. He could have just... And I suppose in some sense that is kind of... Maybe he was looking for a bit of an out. I don't know why he would say it. Because he could have said... After the game, which he did straight away, Guardiola in the press conference, he could have said, look, both of them have got niggles. They had niggles, so we decided to take them off. He offered it up. Well, they asked to come off, almost like, you know, I would prefer to have kept him on, which, you know, we don't know what the end line is here with them, how struggling they were, and could they have continued? I don't know. I just find the whole thing a little bit strange. He did have an illness the week before, De Bruyne. And
he didn't start the first leg.
I don't know how much is in it. What we do know is they're out, and you never had those two at the end. But I think they will have recovered. They've had these bumps before. They've been knocked out of the Champions League before by poorer teams in Real Madrid. Right. Before they won it last year. They were favourites and favourites and favourites, and I think it was Leon that knocked him out, and all these teams have knocked him out. So they'll recover from that. I don't expect much difference than a dominant City performance.
Do you agree, Ali?
Yeah, and I think... I'm not sure that Manchester City looks at it from this sort of perspective, but it is important for them to learn from the failings of Liverpool, that they carried a poor performance in Europa League onto a poor performance in the league. Mm-hmm. So the worst thing that you want to do if you're Manchester City is carry negative momentum into now what it's remaining... your remaining cup competition in FA Cup. And it's a semi-final FA Cup. It's a big deal. It's a big moment. And by the way, mind you, they're not guaranteed to win the league. And so you start looking as to what are the possibilities of Manchester City in terms of winning something this season. Well, you're 2 games away from winning FA Cup. So I want to focus on this, on Chelsea. And I imagine, and I'm with Craig in this, I imagine that if you're Manchester City, you're able to focus more easily on this match because of your failures in midweek. And it forces you to now put all your attention into this match against Chelsea. I would be more concerned about Manchester City if indeed they had advanced in Champions League and they were sort of overlooking Chelsea. I don't think that happens now because you lost. And what is the other option for Manchester City now against Chelsea? You have to refocus, get it right, get yourself mentally and physically ready to play. And if you are anywhere near your best, you should be better than Chelsea.
That was a great face, wasn't it?
What face?
Guardiola.
Yeah, it was very you. It's you when anyone else is talking.
I have to be honest. No, that's how I could have come on this one. When we opened up the start of the show to do.
Like that. Open mouth. He had his mouth open near a bit as well.
And somebody was talking, which I'll say that's you.
Yeah.
And he's just looking.
Yeah.
This is my week. Utterly bored. Right. Somebody talking.
Okay. Right. But I'm not quite sure where we're going and which direction are we taking.
His face. Did you know he just hates press conferences?
Yes, clearly. Yeah.
I know it can be very manipulative. Yes. I was having a little grin when Ali was talking because I had just got this vision in my head with Ian's internet. Right. That we come back and we go back to Ian, and in the background, I don't know why I'm thinking this, but Don Hutchinson is trying to fix his internet.
Oh, really? Don and Stevie. Get them both around there.
What could possibly go wrong?
Let's just get this vision in my head.
Ian, what have you made of Haaland's dip in form?
Well, you know, the guy's hit, what is it, 90 goals or something as he got here from the start of last season.
As long as there's service. And see, that's the other thing. See, we focus on Erling Haaland, rightfully so, because when you go through a quarterfinals of Champions League and he is nowhere to be found, and he was nowhere to be found. That's the truth. Whether that's the job of Antonio Rudiger or Nacho or whoever else or whatever Real Madrid did defensively, there weren't many signs of life from Erling Haaland. So that's going to bring a whole lot of attention. But this is a guy whose skill set does not include, I'm going to turn, I'm going to get the ball, I'm going to dribble 3 guys, and I'm going to create a chance myself. I need service. And you don't see Manchester City often providing service. An early cross, whip the ball across, put it in and allow your big guy to go and get it. That's not part of their makeup as a team. And it's something that they could utilize to broaden their spectrum and their variety of attack. They want to pass through teams. Eventually, if you have a guy that can be dominant in the air, that can be dominant attacking a ball inside the 18-yard box, put it in there. Just for a change of pace and just to give him a little bit of life. A little bit of, hey, here you go. It's a little something, a little nugget to keep you entertained, to keep you excited to be out here so that you can continue to make your runs. You don't do that as a striker, you lose interest. And in the case of Erling Haaland, he's just not often used in the place that he's most dangerous, and that's inside the 18-yard box.
It's not like we finished the game and we went, well, look at the chances he missed.
Yeah.
The best chances fell to Phil in this game. At the Etihad, Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne got himself a goal, but missed an even easier chance, really. Midfielder coming onto it, side foot, no real pressure, just got to keep it down. Blew his chance. And, you know, we've always talked about this, you know, Haaland and the form. And I've always said the biggest problem for them is they lost 4 goals over 2 games to Real Madrid. And the old will outscore the opponents doesn't really fly and a lot of times when you're playing against these elite clubs. So they can look at the mistakes they made defensively rather than any chances. I mean, Erling Haaland didn't really miss in the 2 games any sitters because he had the header that hit the bar, but he was really shepherded well in Bernabeu. And as Ali said, they never got a lot of service to him in this game. The chances fell to other people and they fluffed their lines.
That's it, surely now, yeah?
You see, he walked out of a press conference.
Right.
I think it might have been the night of the game, and somebody was banned because of shouting a question about it. I think it might have been Neil Barnett.
Oh, really?
Somebody was banned anyway. So they were all a bit touchy about it. In fact, it was embarrassing, though, wasn't it?
Well, yeah.
I mean, it just wanted somebody.
Unnecessary.
It just wanted somebody. I mean, Cole Palmer obviously has been sensational, and you know, I think did he get a hat trick or did he get 4? I can't remember. How many he scored in the game?
Yeah, he got the 4.
He got the 4. You know, for Madueke and Nico Jackson to be doing that, they just wanted honestly just wanted a heavy slap. They needed somebody to take them to the side and bang their heads together. It's embarrassing. It's all me, isn't it?
Yeah. Me.
I want. This is about me rather than, you know, just letting this young lad who, by the way, is carrying the lot of them pretty much. So it was embarrassing, and I think it tells you how it's a little. You know, there needs to be a bit more leadership in there.
Yes.
Both from him, Pochettino, and some of the players. And that's the bottom line. Somebody, you know, normally somebody on the field there. I mean, John Terry, captain for years, and then Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
There have been others. There have been many. Even if Thiago Silva, you know, in his heyday, would have been like, hey, come on. Just absolute stupidity.
And that guy happened to be Conor Gallagher.
Yeah.
That actually stepped in. And you assume that, okay, well, that's where the leadership is coming from. But due respect to Conor Gallagher, look, he's got his own issues as well. And I appreciate the fact that he steps in and said, no, give the ball is...
Yeah.
There's not too many people taking much notice of him.
Correct.
I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way in the Chelsea team. He knows they're not going to dominate games against these kind of teams. But you're in a conundrum. How do we approach it? And I think the way they approached those 2 teams, 2 of the, you know, of the 4 best teams in England, away from home, when everybody thought, nah, you're going to get a bit of a pummeling today, and they went out and they took the game to them and they harassed them, they put them off the stride. A little bit like Liverpool did to City at Anfield. We've rarely seen City as flustered as we did that day. They got away with it to an extent. Have Chelsea got enough belief to go to Wembley and do something similar and say, you know, this team have had a big game in midweek. They lost. They're upset. The pressure's on a little bit, you know, because they're out the Champions League. we can go and we can really get at them? Or do Chelsea say, I'm not quite sure we can do that again, set off and probably get beat? So I'm intrigued to see if they've got the stomach to go and try and take some of this game to Manchester City. I've no idea how they'll approach it, but that was certainly had some semblance of success for them at Villa Park and at the Etihad.
Let's take a look, shall we then, at how everyone thinks this game is going to go. We also have predictions. Everybody believes that Manchester City are going to win. I mean, you were saying, Craig. Oh,
that's
so
nice.
clearly,
Clearly
what they did was they didn't take the pressing game. And
clearly, everything you said has just been wiped out by your prediction.
That's normal.
Ian, you've got it the tight right. You've got to go to extra time.
Yeah, well, I'm remembering as well. Craig's talking about how well Chelsea played at Aston Villa there. Remember how well Chelsea played until extra time in the Carabao Cup final against Liverpool? You know, there were chances at both ends that could have gone either way. They've done well, really, in games against the bigger clubs. I mentioned earlier the 4-4 against Manchester City at Stamford Bridge. And Chelsea, confidence up at the moment, as much as it can be after this kind of weird season that they've had. I think they're going to give a very good account of themselves in this game, and I could see them running City quite close on the day.
Of course, we'll get a result on the day, won't we? However, news breaking that next season, in previous rounds, of course, you would have a replay. That isn't going to happen anymore. It'll be one-off matches. FA Cup War, the FA Cup decision to scrap FA Cup replays angers EFL clubs who have talked about abandoning the whole competition, actually, since this announcement. Ian, you, of course, followed the FA Cup, commentated on it for many a decade. What do you make of this decision?
Well, it's another land grab by the Premier League, isn't it? It's a disgrace, really. It's a slap in the face in the tradition of the FA Cup. They've always been replays. I mean, I think the FA started to disband the FA Cup, you know, in its greatness, really, the year they let Manchester United opt out of the competition to go and play in that kind of make-believe World Club Cup thing that was going on somewhere in Central or South America. I can't even remember now. That was a disgrace. And they've done this really without really consulting a lot of the clubs in the EFL, the Football League. So I think they've got to look at this again, really, because they're close to having a bit of a revolt on their hands. What do you think, Craig?
Well, I mean, there's a couple of ways of looking at it. I think the anger and ire is coming at it from the fact that, as Ian said, the bulk of this seems to have been done between the FA and the Premier League. Right? Everything's to suit the Premier League. Now, if you're looking at the replays, how many replays actually happen for these smaller clubs and how much money do they get out of it? I think it would be quite a small sample. But then, if you're going to do away with the replays, more money has then to be guaranteed to filter down. And then, as I saw somebody pointing out, if some of these clubs need the replays to keep themselves alive, then obviously they've got to look at the way they're running their ship and the business model. I'm a little bit conflicted because of the whole schedule, but what I don't like, the one thing I don't like about it is how these governing bodies, and particularly the Premier League, can sort of wield its financial muscle and obvious strength and dictate what's happening at all the other stages of the pyramid. And it's already got enough power, more than enough power. And so it's a difficult one because we are seeing clubs playing a lot of games, but why should that affect the lower league clubs in English football when there's not more money being filtered down? I think I wouldn't have so much a problem with the no replays if the Premier League were guaranteeing there was even more money filtering down to all these clubs. I would have less of a problem as it, but we know they're not doing that. They're holding as much of the money as possible.
And the argument of playing a whole lot of games loses value and loses its weight when you consider that it isn't all the teams in the Premier League that are playing a whole bunch of games, because not all the teams are involved in Champions League, not all the teams are involved in Europa League or Conference League if you want to take it that far down. And so how many of these teams are actually having this number of games that make it worthwhile, or at the very least push it to the point to where you have to make a decision to disband the replays? Now, I would say that in Copa del Rey, they disbanded the replays. And what they did is mandated that all the games would be played at the lower tier opposition, or whoever lowest ranked home team or home stadium. And you go through 90 minutes, and if nothing happens, then you're looking at extra time or you're looking at penalties, and that's it. Game, set, match. And it seems to work in Copa del Rey. I don't know that there was as much historical pushback as there is here in the
They
FA
won't like
Cup.
that, Ali. Won't like that.
I would like to see that.
Ian's thrown his internet.
No, I'm just saying what happened in Spain, just for context.
Yeah, I like that, and I like the fact that, you know, if you're any team, you go away to the smaller team, whether it's the National League or League Two or whatever, you're automatically you're going down there. I do like that idea, but it's just there's no easy answer to the
There never is, Craig. There never is.